Do you remember the good old days where football resembled something like a combat sport? Yeah, that's because it's supposed to look something like a combat sport. And thank you, dear 8-pound, 11-ounce baby Jesus. It looks like that again in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your top stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at Oldeo State. Today, we're brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money today. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first entire year. Get squared away with Monarch today. Meanwhile, we get squared away with the MMA action happening in Stillwater, Oklahoma, primarily led by Josh Ford, the tight end from Stillwater, America, right down the road, the homegrown talent who started as a true freshman this previous season and obviously showed flashes of, oh yeah, there's a reason that he's starting as a true freshman. It's gone way beyond that now. That dude is bringing the heat every single millisecond of every day, and the beauty of it, it's not just him. This is even an ordeal where you have coaches that are getting face-to-face, nose-to-nose, chest-to-chest, pushing, shoving. The intensity in Stillwater is unlike anything I've ever heard of, which is absolutely phenomenal. You have to have something to stand on. You have to have a calling card whenever you're trying to redeem a 3-win season. Whenever you bring in all of these SEC coaches, Todd Grantham, Ryan Osborne, Cap Dede, Jules Montanar, so on and so forth, when you bring these dudes in, they have to send a message. And the message that has been sent in Stillwater is, we are going to run through your face and we're going to run through the wall with your face mask intact afterwards. I'm all for it. I absolutely love it. Whether it's Josh Ford getting into it with Malik Charles and yelling across the field and ready to throw hands all day, every day, whether he's doing the same thing with Rashad Bradley or Tajh McCoy or Wendell Gregory or Brian McCoy. Or it even could be somebody massive like Aiden Kelly, who we've always known as a 4-star beast, especially in the weight room. If Josh Ford can take somebody like that and put him 3 yards backwards in the air and then give him the people's elbow essentially right afterwards, this is precisely what Oklahoma State needed. Of course, everybody wants to be viewed as a physically imposing team. But even the offensive linemen in recent interviews discussed how if they want anybody to think of them this season, it's for their physicality, right? Every offensive line has to have a little bit of that dirty, that mean, that nasty in them, which is precisely why Doug Meacham ain't afraid of nobody. Doug Meacham, he's ready to get at it with whomever, whether it be Ryan Osborne or Todd Grantham. Doug Meacham is about his business. That's because he's an offensive lineman. He still has that dog in him. He thinks that way. He plays that way. He coaches that way. And I love it. This whole thing is predicated upon this physicality. We are designed to be an imposing team this season. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to be violent to some degree. Legally violent, of course, like we're not trying to get anybody hurt. But at the same point in time, this is absolutely massive for Oklahoma State. You could easily make the argument that the last couple of years, even though we did just win a 10-game season, 10-win season, play Texas, the physicality wasn't the same. And you saw that in the Texas game. For all of you out there that were there live, it was very visible within the first 2 minutes. Like, oh, geez, they're a lot faster and they're a lot more physical than we are. Obviously, it didn't help that Ollie Gordon came into the game with 3 pounds of tape on his ankle to begin with, and then he got hurt 6 plays into it. But even outside of that, it was extremely visible that we were just not anywhere near their speed and their physicality. It just wasn't all that close, unfortunately. So we had to answer the bell. And whenever you go out and get some of the top transfers in the country and you're able to get guys from the LSUs and the Miamis and the UCLAs and the Ohio States of the world, you're going to need to have something to stand on that separates you from everybody else. Something that tells everybody that what you just saw out of Oklahoma State this previous season is definitely not going to happen again. Are we going to get beat sometimes? Yes. Is the complexity of the offense going to be difficult to have nuanced into the daily routine? Yeah, absolutely. Does that mean that, we're going to take all season to get this thing down pat? No. But while we are getting it down, while we're getting the different checks and the audibles and the multiple shifts and protections and play calls, while we're getting all that down, it's going to take a few games. Whenever you install an NFL or SEC level system that has multiple calls off of one play, it's going to take some time. But in the meantime, you have to be known for something. So while Oklahoma State is figuring it out through the first few weeks of the season, this is what they're going to stand on. We're going to be the most violent, physically imposing team that most people aren't even going to be prepared for. Some of the things that you're hearing about in practice are something that I don't know that we've ever really talked about. Maybe if you go back to the Les Miles days, and that's not a knock on Mike Gundy, there's even probably, right, something to the fact that in the beginning, maybe Mike Gundy operated this way, right? And we do know that the full contact, tackling to the ground, that did exist in the beginning of Mike Gundy's coaching career as the head man here. But even before that, Les Miles probably was a dude that he didn't mind it. He didn't mind you mixing it up. And when you look at the NFL, right, when they do those co-training camps where they have multiple teams on the field or two teams on the field at the same time, it's usually chippy. It usually gets fiery. There's usually some hands that are thrown, some pushing, some shoving, some jawing back and forth. And you got to kind of appreciate that. Let's face it. Today's age of football, it's very safety-oriented, which is a great thing. The protection of the players is imperative to their future success. But at the same point in time, it's like the quarterbacks have a mountain of pillows around them. If you touch a quarterback with your pinky at the wrong time, it's a flag. And that's kind of ridiculous. Most quarterbacks would also kind of agree, especially the ones that grew up with an old school philosophy or mindset, that yes, there does need to be more protections for a quarterback. That's fair. But at the same point in time, it is still football. This is still supposed to be a game of warriors, a game of dudes that separate themselves from the rest of society. That's why only a very small percentage ever get to play in the NFL, but even a very small percentage ever even get to play Power 4 football as well. So if you're going to be part of the 3%, 7%, 10%, whatever the case may be, contingent on the levels, if you're going to be part of that, you have to do something that separates you. Oklahoma State seems to be on a mission to separate themselves from everybody else in the conference. We know that Baylor's probably going to be really good. Kansas State's going to be good. Iowa State's going to be Iowa State. There's other. Texas Tech is set to likely have a good season, but this all kind of circles back around to that week 2 matchup against Oregon. I've been on Oregon show. I've been on Oregon Spaces and discussed how our team speed is going to surprise the Ducks. They are likely to underestimate us. And if we're fast enough to catch them by surprise, we could make the game interesting. But even beyond that, the biggest difficulty is going to be stopping their D-line. So when our offensive linemen are saying we want to be known for being physical, for being aggressive, for having that toughness that you don't see everywhere, that toughness that you may not even get out of an Oregon. So athletically, yes, Oregon's going to have all of these track star style of dudes. I think we're going to be competitive in the speed department. But if we can out-aggressive the Oregon Ducks, that's the best recipe for catching them by surprise. Just lining up pure track meet style of stuff all game, probably not going to be the most advantageous route to getting a W. But if we can go in there and play smash mouth football and utilize our speed to, put some points on the board rather quickly, we could put Oregon in a position where they're playing on their heels. And that is precisely why I'm excited about this defense. I think this defense is going to be the best we've had since Knowles, hands down for sure. And, that hurts my heart even a little bit to say that because, Nardo's my dude. But statistically, we were pretty terrible. You can't look past 126th in the country, 131st in the country in overall defense, pass defense, and just brush it under the rug and pretend that we were going to magically get instantaneously better with all of that same staff. This is what it took. It took all of these changes. It took paying these guys this level of money to have an incentive to do something miraculous once again on the defensive side of the ball in Stillwater. And the defense is so physically imposing on a consistent basis that it's causing some of the offensive guys to do more, like Josh Ford. Another fun thing is when you look at the OSU Media Days, there was a reporter going around and she was asking the players, pick a couple players you want to get in a fight with, pick a couple players that you would never want to get in a fight with. And almost everybody was saying that the person that they don't want to fight is either going to be Josh Ford or Armstrong Nodum. And Armstrong makes sense because he can snap people in half just physically. He was the only dude this previous season that could outlift or lift right with Justin Kirkland. So we've known that aspect for Armstrong exists. I don't know that we knew this portion of Josh Ford existed. You want your tight end to be this way. So much so that if Josh Ford keeps putting on weight, if he can get the weight in the hips too, which is a little bit of a different scenario, but nonetheless, he's operating like a dirty, mean, ugly, nasty offensive tackle. That's what you want. We need this. This is precisely what the BOR doctors ordered. I don't like the way they've gone about it. I don't like the fact that they have as much control as they do, but nonetheless, I love this. So if anybody's looking for reasons to get excited about Oklahoma State football and why the Cowboys are definitely going to win more than 7 games this season, it starts with this. The violence of action is the emphasis. And not every team in the country is going to operate that way. I would argue that Oregon's probably not necessarily worried about Oklahoma State coming in and beating them up and down the field physically. But they need to start preparing for that because it's a-coming. You need to start helping yourself and your family, of course, with your money management. We've all wanted to have more money available. We've always likely all wondered at one point in time, where's my money going? How do I manage this better? How do I make life easier? Well, with Monarch Money, whether you're growing your savings or you're planning a massive purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over all of your finances. Monarch Money is a more than just a budgeting app, right? It's not your run-of-the-mill deal. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to just managing your money, now you have the ability to build wealth with it. Have you ever wished you had all of your accounts and spending all in one place so you don't have to bounce back and forth and check other accounts and move money here? Monarch can help you with that. Have you ever looked at your spending and been surprised about all of the little meticulous things that tend to add up? Monarch is here to help you with that. So this is your opportunity to take control of your finances today with Monarch Money. Help yourself, help your family, and help your future. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first entire year. That is monarchmoney.com. Make sure you use that code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for half off your first full year. All right, now we get to shift gears here once again to the jack position. But different defense coordinators call some of these, special packaging style of placements for the hybrids different names. Oklahoma State calls this a jack. Last year, the guys who would have been primarily in charge of that jack position were going to be your Colin Olivers. We're going to be your Obi Ezegbos. But even as Gundy recently mentioned, Obi did phenomenal. But Obi was also only 230 pounds. So against certain teams and certain pulling guards, pulling tackles, it was always going to be a little bit problematic for somebody like Obi Ezegbo, who was a tweener. And even Colin Oliver was considered a tweener. And unfortunately, he's got an injury thing. But we're going to talk a little bit about the NFL here, segment 3. This position seems to be a position of strength right now. We just talked about all of this violence of action and all of this emphasis on being the more physically dominant team. Part of it starts with these dudes, the jack position, consisting of Malik Charles, Wendell Gregory, and Tajh McCoy. Tajh McCoy from Oklahoma, went to Colorado, very highly rated recruit, goes to Colorado, spends a year there. You know what? I'm homesick. I want to make something happen in Stillwater. He's back in action in Stillwater, America. Then you also have right now who's kind of leading the pack for the most part, Malik Charles. And we've talked about Malik Charles has put on like 53 pounds in his time in Stillwater, Oklahoma. He has the NFL pedigree, but he also just started playing football like 3.5, 4 years ago. So this is going to be an emergent style of season for him. Whenever you can pack on that kind of pounds, you can maintain your speed. And to play this jack position, that means you have to have the ability to put your hand in the dirt, but you also have the ability to get out to the flats, to get up on the seams, to be able to cover some running backs, to be able to cover some tight ends, to be able to get involved in the slot game if the slot's hanging around too close to the line of scrimmage. So you have to have that versatility. I honestly did think that Shandavian Bradley was going to be somebody who factored very heavily, very early on. But when Malik Charles is doing what he's doing and Wendell Gregory is stealing the daggone show over and over and over, this position might be the most exciting on the defensive side of the ball. Defensive tackle, when you have Amon Oates and Vinny Kafusi and Aiden Kelly, naturally, you should be excited with Demarion Thomas. But this jack spot's special. So if you have Deshaun Brown or Atlanta Dean or Jaleel Johnson, you have to worry about those guys on the ends in a three-man front with either a Vinny Kafusi or a Amon Oates or an Aiden Kelly or Demarion Thomas or even Michael Diata. Those dudes manning the middle with your Deshaun Brown, Jaleel Johnson types on the outside, and then you have this jack dude. This jack position is crucial. Colin Oliver's freshman year, he was a specialist, right? He was there to get sacks. But that's because he had the ability to put his hand on the ground and get outside athletically. Then we shifted to more of a linebacker style of role for him. And even Jaleel Johnson's played a little bit of this jack stuff. This position is the position of strength. Whenever you're talking about these dudes, guys, Wendell Gregory, he's a problem. But you can't discount the fact that Malik Charles has done just that. Put on 53 pounds, take that NFL pedigree that he has from his dad, and turn this whole thing around. His career is about to be made in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And Wendell Gregory, South Carolina fans, if you go look at the message boards, they were not excited about that dude leaving. They actually were talking a bunch of crap. Why would you leave South Carolina when you're getting a bunch of playing time as true freshman to go to Stillwater, Oklahoma? That's because you can be special here. I guess you could be special in South Carolina, but I think the argument would be made that maybe it wouldn't mean the same thing, right? And then Tajh McCoy, naturally, being an Oklahoma kid, him leaving the state to go to Colorado was a big deal. I mean, we talked about this last year, about how Tajh McCoy was on the top 10 desired get list, and we couldn't get him. So now we have an opportunity at redemption, and I'm still not out on Shanae Bradley. He has so much competition. There's so much of a logjam right now because of how even these dudes are. That's why I'm excited. So yes, this position is better now than with Colin Oliver and Obi Ezegbo, for sure. Does that mean I'm saying that we got somebody that's automatically better than CO? Maybe not necessarily. But when you're talking about 275-pound dudes, 280-pound dudes, 265-pound dudes, as opposed to 230, 240-pound dudes, it does make a difference. So when you have to slide over and when you have to be part of that four-man front, whether you're standing up, which is most likely going to be the case, but occasionally even the Jacks are going to have an opportunity to put their hand in the dirt. Putting your hand in the dirt at 230 pounds, 240 pounds, whenever you're going against 315, 305, 310-pound tackles, right? I mean, you understand that unless you're just an expert at twisting, stunting, and creating crazy leverage, that's never going to be a winning position. But now you're talking about dudes that are in that 260, 270, 280 range that still have enough athleticism to be a problem on the outside. So if an offense wants to get a little bit too cute, our big dudes can go down there and hammer you into the turf, into the grass, into the dirt, whatever you want to call it. But the violence is part of this equation. Colin Oliver was good. Obi Ezegbo was good. But this is a different animal. There is going to be a massive, I know I say that a word's probably my favorite word on the show, but I can't think of a bigger word. There's going to be a massive difference between this year's defense and last year's defense. Like, it's not even going to be in the same hemisphere. And part of it was talent acquisition. We did not go get anybody out of the transfer portal last year and pay them big time money. We just didn't do it. It wasn't built into the philosophy per se. So if you're spending $5 million last year and we're even sniffing $15 million this year, there is going to be a byproduct of that visible on the field. Outside of the violence of action, outside of the physicality and the dominating presence, these dudes are kind of going to be the ones that set the edge and make things difficult. Last year, just due to depth, and yes, when Nick Martin and Colin Oliver got hurt, from a tackling perspective, the season, was going to get more difficult. Nobody could have foreseen how difficult it became. Nobody could have foreseen that when you have 20 returning starters that you're going to win 3 flipping ball games. But this is the new age. You have to pay dudes. It is what it is. You have to be able to pay them enough to attract the top talent in the country. And we were able to do that. Like getting the J.K. Johnsons and the Jalen Davies and the Chindavian Bradleys and the Zaquan Pattersons, that takes a lot of work. But it also takes money. It takes effort. It takes the ability of a coaching staff to not only connect, but share a vision, share a dream, and explain why coming to Stillwater, Oklahoma is going to be better for you than going to a Vanderbilt or a Virginia Tech or even a Miami to some degree, right? That is what's happening. This staff has brought this level of talent to Stillwater, Oklahoma. And this staff wants to operate off of this MMA Josh Ford style of model. But it's only possible because of these Malik Charles, Wendell Gregory, Tajh McCoy, and Shadavian Bradley types. I mean, you have to have it. And that's the level of competition in practice is so intense that I think you probably have to look back to the very beginning of Mike Gundy days, at the end of the Les Miles days, into the Bob Simmons days, before you get to this level of physicality that is happening. And it all starts with these jack dudes. If this jack position does not work out, then the defense is likely going to struggle. But Malik Charles and Wendell Gregory are neck and neck. Like they're about to be massive. I know my favorite word, problems for everybody in the Big 12. So anybody, including Oregon, that's going to take Oklahoma State lightly, which is likely, the speed is going to be a factor. The talent, obviously, physicality for sure. But this spot right here, this jack position with these dudes, with how good they are, how physical and athletic they are, it's going to make a world of difference. This defense is going to be insanely better. It is what it is. People are going to doubt us. Tell them, bring it on. Welcome it. Hammer the over. Because I guarantee you, there's not going to be very many teams in the league that are ready for this level of intensity. And thankfully, we now have the depth to kind of back it up. Last year, if we lost starters due to the fact that we didn't participate in NIL and we didn't go aggressively acquire the top talent, if starters went down, it was going to be rough. And that's what happened. And we were our O-line was Charmin soft, right? We'll just call a spade. It was. So this offensive lineman this season is not going to be because they can't be. They can't be. If this O-line is going to operate with any fluffy stuff, they would be getting absolutely wrecked every single day. And they would be doing it so much that they would start hating coming to practice. But you're seeing the opposite. You're hearing the opposite. The intensity of the defense is causing somebody like Josh Ford to be ready to look more like Brock Lesnar. And that has inspired the offensive line to do more, to lift more, to run more, to train harder, to push harder, to block longer, to be more physical. I'm okay with a few more flags. Bring it on. Because if it means that this jack position is going to be the biggest piece, the biggest missing piece, bring it. This is what we needed. And this is why I'm so flipping pumped about this season. All right, before we skedaddle on off here, we got some NFL Cowboys. Let's go right to the point. Ollie Gordon is currently 4th string on the depth chart, but I don't think that's really going to matter. The biggest problem that Miami had last year was their inability in short yardage situations. They've got multiple running backs that are shifty, that are quick, that can take off running. And they did bring in that Matson dude to be kind of that physical dude to compete with Ollie. But they have to have this. They started like 8-3, 8-4, something to that effect, and then their season absolutely, completely derailed. Yes, defenses did figure out how to kind of combat the Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, burning everybody deep scenario. But at the same point in time, they made their drives be extended, so much so that they had to win in short yardage, and the Dolphins just could not do it. Even Tyreek Hill recently mentioned, which I'm sure he's already caught some heat for from his teammates, but he told the starting running back, bro, like, take yourself out. Like, why are you trying to do that on 4th and goal, 4th and 1? Like, That's why we got the Madison dude. That's why we got Ollie Gordon. They're going to be that guy. And so I'm not worried about Ollie being fourth string because the Dolphins severely lacked the ability to win in short yardage scenarios last season. They were horrendous at it. That's why they drafted Ollie. So I don't care that he's fourth string. He's going to get some opportunities in the preseason to prove that he's going to be higher up on that list, right? And he's on a rookie contract. That's obviously beneficial as well. But it's not just our main man, Ollie Gordon, that's going to get several opportunities. There's tons of Cowboys that are on these preseason rosters. Right now, you got the Ravens with Justice Hill doing his daggone thing, and Tylan Wallace playing against the Colts. Former Cowboy offensive lineman Josh Sills is a Colt. The Bengals have Rashad Owens, the big body beast of a wide receiver, gets to continue to rock the orange and black in Cincinnati. The Browns have some level of orange mixed with a weird color on top of it. Nonetheless, the Browns were able to acquire Tevin Jenkins from Chicago, and he's already listed as a second stringer, so he's going to be competing for a starting spot, but he gets to go up against Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard is the dude in Carolina, and the Carolina Panthers did get a lot of talented wide receivers, so if their defense is even somewhat adequate, they should be significantly better. We're looking at Malcolm Rodriguez and the Detroit Lions taking on the Giants. Taking on the Falcons. Sorry. We need Malcolm healthy. A healthy Malcolm Rodriguez is massive. There it is again for the Detroit Lions. And he goes up against Zach Robinson, who is my vote to hopefully someday take over for Mike Gundy. Then the Giants have Corey Black, the speedster who ran a 4.35 in the draft, is a Giant. The Bills don't have any Cowboys, so they suck. The Steelers, of course, they got Mason Rudolph back, who is going to be the dude behind Aaron Rodgers, but they're going to want to keep Aaron Rodgers healthy. So Mason is about to get a ton of playing time. Maybe not quite as much as he got last year with Tennessee, but pretty close, especially in the preseason. And he gets to hand it off to Jaylen Warren. But Jaylen Warren, being the dude's probably not going to be overused, but they are still going to be on the field together doing the daggone thing. They also get to go up against a couple different Cowboys, and they physically do, right? This is a matchup thing because the Jaguars just recently acquired Emmanuel Ogbah from the Dolphins, and they keep hanging on to Tyler Lacey, which means he's obviously proven that he's got some of these NFL capabilities that they're just, yearning to see more of. Then you have the Rams with A.J. Green. The old school dude is still doing the daggone thing in the NFL, at least to some degree. And they also have Brendan Presley. BP is going to get his opportunity here in the preseason here coming up here before too long. Dallas has kind of become the laughing stock or one of the laughing stocks of the NFL recently, and they don't have any Cowboys, so I don't feel bad for him whatsoever. Green Bay does have Colin Oliver. Unfortunately, he's out hurt, which is a horrendous thing to happen whenever you're a rookie competing for a job on any part of the depth chart. So unfortunately for the Packers, they don't have CO out there. Kansas City has Dalton Cooper, and Dalton Cooper is already climbing up the depth chart as a Chief. So that's going to be pretty fun. The Cardinals have a defensive lineman that's going to have the opportunity to go up against Dalton Cooper and Anthony Goodlow. The Denver Broncos, right up the road, they have a Cowboy offensive lineman. Other than Dalton Cooper, the only other productive O-lineman from this last team, Joe Mahalski. He's going to be going up against Nick Martin, who was just a few weeks ago on our lads listed as the starting linebacker next to Fred Warner. Then he had that thumb injury. He seems to be back, but now that he's back, they put him at second string instead of first string. It is what it is. Not really worried about it either. And then the Dolphins have Tyreek Hill, and we just mentioned Ollie Gordon going to get his opportunity. Not worried about him being a fourth stringer because he is precisely what they need. They have to have it. Chicago Bears have Amen Angbagmamiga and Trey Flowers teaming up once again. And unfortunately, Leon Johnson did get another opportunity with the Saints, but it doesn't appear as though he's going to crack this preseason roster, unfortunately. Again, injuries. When you're battling as a rookie for some semblance of PT, it's a killer. Injuries are unfortunately a killer, right? It is what it is. We've got a ton of Cowboys. I'm very excited about it. I can't wait to see what Ollie Gordon does. He's going to climb up that depth chart. He's going to prove people wrong because the Dolphins really have no choice. They have to have somebody like Ollie Gordon, and there's nobody better on that roster that can do Ollie Gordon things than Ollie Gordon. He is the answer to their short yardage woes. So they just need to feed him the rock. Anywho, that's all we're going to have this one right here. As always, I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere. So happy you choose to be here. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you liked it. Go check out the squad show, my podcast, and people out there. You know what to do. You're everything that originally made this whole thing work. So appreciate you. Go do what you do. Hit the stars. Leave some reviews. All righty, y'all. Later, my taters.